Okay. Wow. Wow. I just finished Burning Chrome. It's like almost midnight, but I had to I had to shoot a video talking about this while it's sitting up here because I read the last two short stories of this and I'm like still reeling from this book. Um, Let me back up a little bit. So, this is Burning Chrome by William Gibson, the author of Neuromancer. Let me see, I got it right here. The author of the famous book Neuromancer that essentially started cyberpunk. Um, and if you'll remember, if you've watched my channel before, you'll probably remember that I've mentioned that I had a hard time with Neuromancer at the beginning. I read that um, a long time ago, had a really like a tough reading experience, even though I really enjoyed a lot of the book, but just it was very dense and chewy, and the prose were beautiful, but you know, I had some issues with the reading, and not that it was one of those things where it was a more of a me issue than it was the book, because the more I've thought about that book, the more I've thought about Gibson's prose, what he was doing, and all of the inventiveness that he possesses in his writing, the more I was like, I just need to read more of him and figure out what's going on. What is, I need to figure out why I missed the mark on Neuromancer. And so I picked this up a week or two ago and just started going through the short stories. And man, were they good. Oh my gosh, were they good. Um, this was published in 1986. Like I said, William Gibson, and there are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 short stories in here. I'll discuss each of them real quick so that way we don't sit here for 30 minutes talking about this. Um, but for those of you that have read Gibson, you know what you know why I'm so jacked up right now. I'm pumped. This book is freaking awesome, and it makes me get Neuromancer. Like, I'm gonna read Neuromancer again, and it's gonna click, and I'm gonna get it. Like, why it's such a masterpiece. Because so we start off this book with a foreword from who wrote the foreword? Bruce Sterling, um, a fellow science fiction writer, I believe. And I made a note to read this little preface, read this little sentence in the preface. Sterling writes, Gibson's extrapolative techniques are those of classic hard science fiction, but his demonstration of them is pure new wave. I'm not super learned on like all of the, not super educated, what have you, on all of the history of science fiction, but I know it well enough to understand that like that's speaking to two very distinct waves of two very distinct time periods of science fiction. And so Gibson clearly possesses this skill, this ability that is just like it transcends two different time periods and writing styles of science fiction, where it's just he just marries the two beautifully. And I would completely agree with this. That was I made a note of that when I started this. It's on page 3, and I, after just finishing in this, I would echo that completely. So yeah, that should tell you a lot about what kind of writing style he has. We start off with a short story called Johnny Mnemonic, which is was actually made into a movie with Keanu Reeves in it. Um, and I've never seen the movie. I kind of want to. It looks kind of like, I think it's pre-Matrix, actually, pre-Matrix Keanu, and it looks pulpy and quirky and early, mid 90s kind of, I think. I want to say early 90s. And so anyway, it just it's got that flair for that time period in it, and the short story did not disappoint. It was exactly what I was hoping for. It felt like an ultra compacted Neuromancer. with action and the grittiness of the prose, and we even get a introduction of one of the characters from Neuromancer. And I'm gonna really try my best to not spoil anything in this, so that way I'm covering these, but not I'm reviewing them and telling you my thoughts, but you're not like, they're shorts, so there's not a lot I can say without spoiling. So Johnny Mnemonic was awesome. It's a great way to kick off this collection. Next, we have the Gernsback Continuum, which it centers around this man who's a photographer, I think, he's like trying to capture like Americana, but like in the future almost. And it's just this, it's strange, but it's uncanny, but oddly beautiful, I think. And it speaks to our like strange human desire, I think, of like wanting to experience a future that we envision, like an idealized future. And it's weird. I didn't, yeah, this is a great second short story. I mean, like, I can't stress enough how like all these stories offer you something. Most of them offering you such a great reading experience. Just this experience of reading the prose is fun and enjoyable. It's not laborious to get through like Neuromancer was the first time I read it. And I think that's because I understood like what kind of prose I was going to read before I picked this up. And I'm a little bit more experienced as a science fiction reader now. So I knew what to anticipate a little bit. Because I'm not going to say that it's not an easy read. That's not what I mean by that. But it's just, he just flows. Beautiful prose. So the Gernsback Continuum is really good. Next, we have one called Fragments of a Hologram Rose. Very short, like 6 pages. And we follow this character who it's like it deals with like perception and sensory like emotions and sensory feelings and things like that. Relationships a little bit, and it's short, snappy, really good. um not a standout in the short story collection, but then again, there's so many good ones. So yeah, Fragments of a Hollow Rose was good. My least favorite was probably the next one, The Belonging Kind, which I found to be the most confusing of the bunch, where I just kind of like got to the end of it and I was like, did I miss something? Not like with Neuromancer, where I just was like, I got enough of it to understand what was going on, but was still left in the dark on some of it. Like I didn't get I didn't get it. And so The Belonging Kind of bothered me. It was just this weird meandering, um, like like a guy stalking a woman, and then they have this really just strange relationship. Not really, I don't know. It was bizarre. Again, the pros are so good that like none of it's bad to read. None of it's unenjoyable. This one just didn't hit the mark for me. That's The Belonging Kind. And sorry if I'm just like ripping through these and I'm going too fast for you. I drank some coffee. I wanted to like get in the mood to read this, kind of hyped up. Um, and yeah, I finished it and was like, I gotta film this video. So you can probably tell I'm tired, but I'm on some caffeine right now. Excited to talk about this. Um, Hinterlands. I got to collect myself. Hinterlands is the next one. Hinterlands was absolutely fantastic. It was so um like I want to read it again because I think I missed out on a few of the things that it felt very like Neuromancer, where I just was like, I know I'm reading something special. I don't quite understand all of it, so I want to read it again and take another pass at it. Um, the just the world that's built in the short amount of time that we read this, it's like 20 something pages. Like, um, the I think this is the one where the fear is introduced. Is that right? Where like these surrogate people are living on this cylindrical world, double cylindrical world somewhere between Mars and Earth, and it like, am I thinking of the right one, or is that Red Star right Winter Orbit? No, that's right. I have a few notes that I wrote just behind the camera so that I can kind of keep myself on track. Um, yeah, yeah, that's right. Um, and these surrogate people, like I said, I had a little trouble understanding all of the terminology and all of the inner workings of this world that we're in, but I cannot speak highly and high enough of this one, Hinterlands. I'm like probably the second best short story in the whole collection by my account. It was amazing. And like we have like these just Gibson's way of sliding something in to like a short, even a short paragraph sometimes will introduce a whole concept that is a whole book, a whole short story could be written about this one paragraph. And that's why it feels like he takes so much and he just jam packs it, and then he pushes the lid down and he screws it on, and then when you read it, you're like, you have to like slowly unscrew the lid so it doesn't all explode and you miss something. You just have to let it like seep out of a little of your container of your brain. I don't know. It's hard to. It's such a weird analogy, but you kind of get what I'm saying if you've read Gibson. It's so densely packed with such inventive material that the way that it's explained in Hinterlands is just great. I've lingered on that one, but it's awesome. That one was really cool. The next one we have is a collaboration by Bruce Sterling and William Gibson. Bruce Sterling being the one, like I said, who wrote the preface. And this one, Red Star Winter Orbit, is much more, I would say, it's the most space opera of the bunch. And I don't, obviously, a short story in 20 pages or so is not a space opera. We're not spanning galaxies and stuff, but it felt the most like a classic space opera of any of these. And pretty much every single one of these has the your typical cyberpunk. I don't want to call them tropes because like he created cyberpunk, so it's like kind of a that would be a little bit of a cop out, but um, all of your typical things that you would find in a cyberpunk story because he created them. All of the again, most of the stories have some kind of drug, some kind of cyberspace interface that the humans are interacting with in the story. They have some kind of espionage, like mob, like political ish, dark web feel to them. That kind of stuff is present in almost every story. And this one, it's like the least present, I would say, because we follow a man, an old man who's like a former pilot, like the first man in space or something, first man on Mars, I want to say. What did I write down? Page 108. Let's see what I said, what quote I wanted to bring up on this one. All right, so the main character, just make sure my screen doesn't go off. The main character is this older man who, here's kind of a good summary of this one. He spent uncounted hours screening the museum's library of tapes, a fitting pursuit for the last man in space who had once been the first man on Mars. This, we like, it's like kind of like reliving former glory, but doing it for good, not doing it for your own your own sake, your own vanity. It's a really really beautiful story, and it has some political intrigue to it, some kind of speaking on some of the kind of maybe Cold War stuff, question mark. I'm not super educated on that time period in history, so forgive me, but um, yeah, Red Star Winter Orbit was a really fun one. And it ends well. I had a smile on my face when it was at the end. Next one we have New Rose Hotel. Let's see. This one was great. Very short, just like the fragments of a hologram rose, which is interesting that both of them have the word rose in the name. But this one was like, I would say, much more of an experience than like being plot driven. Um, it was like it just felt like more of a when you go in, when you dream and the dream is so like you're not quite lucid, but it's very vivid, but the dream lasts for what feels like 30 seconds, but it's so vivid in your mind that you're like, whatever crazy thing I'm involved in is real. And then you wake up when you realize that. That's what this felt like. And it was awesome. Your classic cyberpunks, punchy, fast, gritty, dark. Um, these characters, so many of them in this book, in these stories, and in Neuromancer and Gibson's writings, have all these like great nicknames. The Finn, Fox, um, freaking Johnny Mnemonic. Uh, what is the one in Burning Chrome? Automatic Jack. Like these great nicknames that are they're so Gibson. Um, yeah, like I don't know. I'm just like flipping through, and it's just like the Edge, the Fox, the New Rose Hotel. This is a great quote. The New Rose Hotel is a coffin rack on the ragged fringes of Narita International. Plastic capsules, a meter high and 3 long, stacked like surplus Godzilla teeth in a concrete lot off the main road to the airport. Like, surplus Godzilla teeth is so, like, what? It's so cool. Gibson has such a great way of inventing a world that feels like cyberpunk. Like the terminology he comes up with and the way he describes things is just, I've never really read anybody who does it like him. So yeah, New Rose Hotel was great. We're getting to the end. Don't worry. If you're bored by me just like waxing poetic about these, I'm on a roll. So bear with me. The Winter Market is the next one. This one was freaking awesome. What did I say about this one? Oh yeah, this one really speaks on like we follow this person who what do you think? What is his job? What does he do? Um, he's like a is he a music producer? I want to say, yeah, he's a music producer, and he produces this like futuristic kind of music that like taps into your inner, like inside your brain using some technology. Who this young woman who like becomes a pop star, but then is we'll just say it speaks to the exploitation of art and music and the way that these industries, especially nowadays, I think this was published in 86, so like Gibson really saw way ahead. We're talking 40 years ago, just how much that happens in um, mainstream media, and how just people with a great idea, a great creative mind, are just, if they find themselves with somebody else having the upper hand on them, are just wrung out of their creative ideas, and it's just marketed and sold, and they are a shell of themselves. And so the Winter Market was awesome. I think that one, yeah, Hugo and Nebula nominated. Um, Great story. And also the next one, Hugo and Nebula nominated, Dogfight, uh, a collaboration between Gibson and Michael Swanwick, who I have not read, but I've heard his name. Excuse me. Dogfight was really, really good. Like I said, I read the last two stories like tonight, so like within the last hour or so before I started this video recording. Dogfight was like much different in a way than the other ones because I think Gibson writes a lot of his characters as conflicted, excuse me, as conflicted yet like somewhat good-hearted in a way. Like we can kind of root for them, you know. And Dogfight, it takes a turn at one point where that's not the case, and we really see the dark side of somebody who gets obsessed with something. It follows like this kind of kid who finds he's never seen it before, but it's basically like holograms of planes fighting, like a dog fight, you know, like planes in a dog fight in the air. That's where the story's named after. And so he finds this, he becomes very obsessed with it. It's almost like it's a sport. It's like an underground sport that people bet on and that kind of thing. And so uh, the way this one ends too is very sobering. Like I think it speaks a little bit to the way we treat our veterans in this country, um, the lack of resources that they're given, and yeah, it was kind of like a it wasn't as enjoyable. It wasn't like a fun story to read because it was like I said, it takes a turn at one point that was really brutal and dark, and then ends on a way where you're just like, dang. Um, so I don't know. That one was a great story, but really like sobering. Like I said, I think is the best way to put it. And then we end on the title story, Burning Chrome, which is just a cool title, right? Like the best one to name your short story collection after, I would say. And sorry, I've been talking so much that my voice is just shot. Burning Chrome was like it bookends this short story collection so well with Johnny Mnemonic because they're both like different flavors of Neuromancer, different compacted flavors of Neuromancer. Um, it's like Neuromancer is Coca Cola, but Johnny Mnemonic is vanilla Coke, and Burning Chrome is like, is there a lime Coke at one point? I want to say. Burning Chrome is that machine at like Five Guys that gives you all the options of all the crazy flavors you can make, and that's how you. It's like you made a weird cocktail of flavors, but it's so freaking good. I don't know. My voice is almost gone. I got to stop this video. But I just got so excited when I finished that story because I was like, dang, that was good. I have to talk about this a little bit. And so, for those of you that watched my Neuromancer review or have heard me talk about it a little bit, I get it now. I get it. I understand what I was kind of missing when I read Neuromancer for the first time. And so this will be read again. And I want to read it immediately, but I know that that's probably not a good idea because I have other stuff that I need to get to. And I want to give this a little bit of time to sit because his prose are so like it's almost like you're I don't know, you're having like the last couple bites of a really expensive but very tasty steak that you're just like, I don't want to stop eating this, but so I have to savor it. You know, that's the way his writing feels. And so I don't know. I get it now, and I'm very very glad I read this. Uh, Easily the best short story collection I've read. I haven't read that many, um, but it blows the other ones out of the water. And I feel like I've read a couple of good ones, including Corn Bluth over here. So, yeah, if you find a copy of Burning Chrome, I would say buy it and get it, read it. I love it because it's so good. I'm just jazzed right now, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to bed. So I may just keep reading. I have some stuff here. Oh, I got to read this Mutiny in Space that I talked about in my haul video. Maybe I'll start that. We'll see. Going from this to a book that has under 3 stars on Goodreads can't be a good idea, can it? So I have to end it there because my voice is just it's going crazy. But let me show you the cover again because I do aesthetically I really like this cover. So anyway, that's been Burning Chrome. I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope I didn't spoil anything for you. I hope that you read William Gibson because he's amazing. So those are my thoughts. I am probably going to go read until I pass out. So love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. See ya.